If you're gaming on a laptop, you probably use an external mouse, right? While a touchpad can be used easily when you're scrolling through a web page or typing a Word document, but I believe that 99% of the people who play games on their laptops would agree that using a touchpad when you're playing a game is pretty much impossible. Well, let's try it then, shall we? For this test, I'm going to use a laptop touchpad as my primary gaming mouse, and I'm only going to use one hand. To make matters even worse, I'm going to use an old MacBook for this test, which doesn't even have a right mouse click button on its touchpad. So, if a game requires me to right click, I'm gonna have to tap with 2 fingers, or do Command plus click. Typical Mac gaming experience, huh? I wanted to start with Papers, Please, as it doesn't require me to do crazy moves with my mouse. I thought it was going to be a cakewalk, but turns out it really wasn't. Sure, Papers, Please is not as fast-paced as, let's just say, first-person shooters, but there's still a timer element in the game. The amount of money you earn at the end of the day depends on the amount of people you process in a certain amount of time. Because of that, my family wasn't so happy, as I was clicking on things slower than before. I did gain some speed as I kept using the touchpad, but I was so happy to return to my mouse when the test was over. I think you can be good at this game with a touchpad, but it depends on how much you practice, and I don't think it'll be worth it. Next up is Minecraft. As I entered the third dimension, I thought this was going to be absolutely unplayable. But I was simply wrong. Although it was far from optimal, I did manage to cut some trees, craft some tools, and build a simple object. However, when it came to combat, the nearly non-existent AI of pigs I tried to hit almost beat me. The animals were constantly moving, and I tried my hardest to keep up with them with my pathetic touchpad. Other than that, the absence of a right-click button was very noticeable with this game, as it's used to place blocks. So, I had to do an awkward 2-finger tap whenever I wanted to place a block. Overall, I think the survival mode is pretty unplayable with a touchpad. But, the creative mode can be played if you're patient enough, as it doesn't require you to do anything and you can take your time. My next choice was Chicken Invaders 5. This is a 2D shoot-'em-up game that is pretty basic. However, I couldn't play it as I kept colliding with objects while I tried to maneuver through the environment. It was pretty hard to control, and I certainly can't play this game with a touchpad. I would say that it is very possible to play this game with a touchpad, but my limited amount of touchpad skills doesn't allow me to. Coming up next is Halfight. I did manage to play some parts of the early game, but it was so hard to aim and shoot. I think it would be pretty close to impossible if I progressed further. Also, do a favor to yourself and do not play multiplayer with a touchpad, seriously. I mean, I don't know what I was even expecting, honestly. A touchpad and a first-person shooter never goes together well. I think the message is pretty clear, but I still want to torture myself further. So, I'm going to play another FPS game. I think, as a touchpad master, I'm going to play Quake 3 Arena. This game is even faster than Half-Life, but I think we all know that nothing can be too fast for a touchpad master. So, as a pro, I selected the easiest difficulty on a single-player arena, and I managed to play it with a touchpad, and got absolutely 0 deaths. And by that, I mean 0 deaths for the opponent. 90% of the time I couldn't even keep up with him. Quake 3 is a game where you have to be quick, and the mighty laptop touchpad just doesn't offer that. I think it's clear that playing Quake with a touchpad is simply impossible. Well, maybe it can be possible if you spend a lot of time on it. A lot of time. And by a lot of time, I mean probably more than 20 minutes, and I'm not willing to spend that much time on it. So, if I had to rate these games on a chart, Papers, Please would score a 60% playability, Minecraft would score a 35% playability, CI5 would score a 60% playability, Half-Life would score a 15% playability, and Quake 3 would score a staggering 1% playability. And that 1% only applies if your standards of playing Quake 3 is just moving around in a map and doing absolutely nothing else. I think it's safe to say that the touchpad is not optimal for gaming at all. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it doesn't try to be a gaming peripheral to begin with. However, it can be alright for some games like Samoro's, a point-and-click game that doesn't involve any timing mechanics. It's simple, fun, and can be 100% played with a touchpad. So, ultimately it's down to the type of the game you want to play and also your skill set. It is not impossible to play games with a touchpad at all, though you're probably better off just using an external mouse for your gaming needs. Thank you for watching, and sorry for the low quality. I'm still trying new techniques, but if you want more low quality content, you can click on a different video to watch right now.